Welcome into the Tottenham Depot. I am not Andrew. I am Scott, playing host this evening. Um, we are going to cover all kinds of things this evening around Newcastle and Tottenham. But before I do, I want to bring in my co-host this evening, known to me as Mac Dak, to the rest of the world as Dakota. One of my greatest friends, Dakota at Dakota J Booth. What's going on, man?
It feels like it's been a long time since we watched Spurs play, but it's only been just a couple of days. So I'll take that as a good sign that we're exciting to watch, that we want to watch more Spurs. I'll gladly take that attitude and that kind of forecast over not really wanting to be anywhere near them any day of the week. So.
No doubt. Well said. Well said. Um, For those of you watching on YouTube, we are live on YouTube tonight. Before we kick off the show, I definitely have to bring attention to myself, which I'm not a huge fan of doing, but I am wearing my favorite Tottenham kit that I own in the entire collection. It is the 2016-17, I believe, if I'm not
Uh,
mistaken.
I,
Dakota, help me out here.
it might
Um,
it might be. That's the
it
last
is.
year before we went to Nike, right?
It is. It's the last year of the Under Armour. It's the away navy and gold kit. Some of you remember. So not only is it maybe my favorite design in recent memory, but I will turn around and show you that it is the absolute goat. And Musa Dembele himself, number 19. As Dakota, for those of you watching, goes and grabs his version of this kit with Sunny on the back. So we are rocking one of the greatest kits of all times, and we've got Sunny and Dembele. So make sure you're subscribing and liking our YouTube channel, subscribing to, I should say, and liking our YouTube channel to make sure that you get all kinds of content beyond the voices and the sounds, right? And watch us live. But like I said, we're here to talk about Tottenham versus Newcastle United at the weekend. We wanted to make sure that we got to you guys midway through the week and gave a good solid preview on what was to come. We're away, so we're on our way up to Newcastle, Dakota. If we look back on the last two times we went to St. James's Park, it was not good for Tottenham Hotspur. I believe the aggregate scoring is somewhere around, call it 10-1. Um,
Yeah.
don't quote me on that, but it's somewhere around there. So knowing that and knowing historically how things have been, at least recently for Tottenham, what's your 30,000 foot view of what's to come?
Yeah. Really quickly, you said you wanted to bring attention to yourself, talk about your kit. I'll bring attention to
Yes.
myself real quick for anyone who listened 2 weeks ago. I am no longer doing my Ange Postacoglu post-match press conference voice impression. My rasp is all gone. This is how I sound normally. But yeah, I think this feels like a spooky game because not only are we going up to Newcastle, but it's also the early kickoff on Saturday. So we typically don't fare too well with either of those things individually. Put them together, maybe they cancel out, maybe they double up, and it's worse. Maybe none of that actually matters at all, and this is just kind of a pointless juju that we're putting on ourselves. But yeah, I think this is, from a fan's perspective, because of all those things we just mentioned, going to be something that we have our eyes on. And we are definitely thinking about it. I have 100% confidence that no one in that locker room and organization is thinking about either of those things
Yeah.
because they're professionals and it's another work day for them. So I think this match is going to be interesting because we saw a little bit of lineup change in our last match, and I I said it was a little bit Belichickian in our group chat because Ange said that he played Sonny up front because he was a good presser and because we knew that a lot of Everton's build-up play was going to be done through Jordan Pickford. So we're playing our game and also tweaking things in our favor, um, kind of preparing opponent to opponent, which I think is something that Ange gets a lot of flack for not doing. So I think he showed that he does have some flexibility and he does pay attention to those things. So who knows what that's going to look like on Saturday. Maybe it's another opportunity for Sonny to be through the middle, or maybe even put Brennan Johnson through the middle, or that midfield, that Newcastle midfield is really good. So maybe we're going to have to be a little more balanced than we were against Everton. So maybe Dan Kulusevski, with his great run of form, gets to start out on the wing, and we get another true midfielder in there to balance that out. So we'll see a lot of opportunities for different lineups and different approaches in this game against Newcastle, I think.
Yeah, I like what you're saying. We have to be careful with Newcastle. We can't get into a boat race with them. So I think there's a lot of value in a Kulusevski out wide. I think in a lot of ways he slows our offense down. And against a team like Newcastle, as silly as it sounds to say it, that's maybe not a horrible thing to take into the match from a tactical perspective. So I like Kulusevski out on the right. I think it's a great shout, but ultimately they're going to be ready to break on the counter, and they're going to do it really effectively. They're well drilled in defense. Eddie has a fantastic manager. He's his name's circling around the England job right now, and I think there's reason for that. He's just tactically astute, good manager. So they're going to be well drilled at the back. Their midfield is, as you said, dangerous. Joe Ellington is on fire right now and looks to be like one of the better midfielders in the Premier League, and he's quick on the break, both with his own pace, but his passing most importantly. So we'll have to watch out for him, and it'll be important, I think, that whoever is playing the 8 does a lot of work with Joe Ellington. So for me, Sarr might be a good option there. I think Sarr's left a lot to be desired, both in preseason and in week 1, but his box-to-box capabilities and frankly his engine are going to be, in my opinion, important against a guy like Joe Ellington. So I bet on Sarr getting a start, with, of course, Madison as his pairing, and I would assume Basuma behind him. But we'll have a lot to do in the midfield, as you said. And at St. James Park, which is a tough place to play, I think it's worth pointing out that they are a fairly large city. I mean, fairly large. It's not a huge city, right? But they have one team in that city, and that's Newcastle United. So they do bring quite a punch, and we know what their stadium looks like. And there's a reason that, to remove us from the politics of it all, there's a reason why they were recently taken over, right? They know there's something special up there in Newcastle, and we'll have to go up there, as you said, early kickoff on a Saturday and see what we're all about. But I think it's a wonderful opportunity for us to test ourselves and see what the squad is made of. We hear Van de Ven coming out and saying we're different this year. We have more this year. We've taken it to another level. I'm paraphrasing, right? But this will be a wonderful opportunity for Tottenham to show that that's the case.
For sure. And I think it's timely that you bring up Mickey Van de Ven, because he's gonna have to do a lot of sprints on Saturday with Anthony Gordon attacking the back line. Alexander Isak, isn't necessarily known for getting in behind the line, but he can do it. But
he's fast.
And we're gonna have to be pretty disciplined. So this is gonna be. There's been a lot of talk about Yves Basuma and his kind of situation, and Inge has come out and said that discipline is what he wants and needs from Yves, but not just what Ange needs, but what the team needs also. So if he is starting this match, this is going to be a great opportunity for him to show that growth that Ange is looking for, because a moment of lapse and Bruno Guimaraes is playing a through ball to Anthony Gordon or Alexander Isak, and the ball is in the back of the net.
Miggy Almiron as well, I would assume, is on the other side of that trio. And I haven't watched him much this year, so I could be wrong, but I would assume Almiron is on the other side. So when you look at that front three, maybe Jacob Murphy too, I think it's a lot of minutes for them. But
yeah,
all these guys we're talking about have pace. So yeah, Van de Ven's a great shout. Van de Ven's going to have a lot to do, as you said. Yves Basuma is going to have to walk a really tight line. No room or margin for error at all for him. And frankly, the fullbacks, we know they're going to be high and narrow. I don't think that's ever going to change, right? But
Yeah.
I think there's a lot to be said for a little bit more discipline in a match like this, where only one of them is upright and the other one is just conscious and wary of that. Or again, Sar, because Sar covers a lot of ground for those guys. I don't like a Kulusevski Madison pairing in this game in the midfield as dual 8-10s. I just don't think that works in this match. So
Yeah, that seems like the low block. We're going to have a lot of the ball, and we need somebody to do something with it, which is exactly what Dan Kulusevski and Brennan Johnson did for that first goal. How many times last season did we see those 8, 10, 12 touches in the box that led to nothing? That time it led to a goal, and that's what we've been looking for. We need more of that. But, maybe this is a game where we have a lot of the ball for the first 10, 15 minutes, and then it gets pretty stretched for 15 or 20 minutes. And that's going to be the not just the dangerous part, but really the parts for the opportunity also. If Dominic Solanke is back, his hold-up play is going to be extremely important for us as we're trying to score goals. Because he's going to be just as important. He's going to be just as important for providing assists and providing balls and opportunities as much as he is for putting the ball in the net. They've got 6'7" Dan Burn on their back line.
Yeah,
not sure this is the game for whipping in headers. So maybe we finally get a Brennan Johnson low cross that finds the back of a net this weekend.
Yeah, all great points, and I think Solanke a lot circles around whatever happens there for me. I think there's a world where if Solanke's fit, Brennan Johnson maybe doesn't even get a start. And I think you have Odebear on the right, you have Sonny on the left. But if Solanke's not good to go, as harsh as it is on Richie, I think you got to play Sonny through the middle, and that probably means Brennan Johnson on the right-hand side. And Brennan just needs a chance to find his confidence again. I believe in him and think he's a fantastic player. And I think a good way for him to do that is coming off the bench as a substitute. I think that's where he was most impactful last year for sure. So anyways, kind of a rabbit hole there, but I think a lot rides around whether or not Solanke is able to go. And I do think Odebear is going to get another go. I think he showed enough in that debut to get another crack.
Absolutely. What an exciting guy. I've seen some people who I think just poking the bear and being negative, saying that he didn't do much. My eyes saw a very different story. He was exciting. He was trying things. At one point, he did a step over while he was running full speed on the edge of the box. And I know that Sonny does a lot of step overs coming in, but they're usually while he's standing still or walking.
Exactly.
I don't remember the last time I saw one of our attackers do a full step over and go around someone while sprinting. So that was a breath of fresh air. 19 years old, very, very exciting, bright future. Glad it looks like we've got at the very least someone who provides something different than the rest of our attackers, which is something that we've desperately needed. So it feels like we've been talking about how good Newcastle is, but on paper they've not had a great start to the season. They beat Southampton at home 1-0 opening weekend. They drew this past weekend away to Bournemouth in egregious fashion. I have no qualms saying that at all. Bournemouth had a goal that was ruled out deep into stoppage time that should not have been. And then you mentioned Joelinton. He shouldn't be playing against us this weekend because he should have gotten a red card for what was the cleanest WWE clothesline that I've seen on a football pitch on Bournemouth's goalkeeper. So hopefully, for all you betting people out there, it seems like you should put some money on Joelinton to score this weekend. But we'll leave that talk to you. Be the expert there.
No, I think you're right. I don't think they've been great. I think last year they were rattled a little bit by I think the lack of depth up against the Champions League campaign and the Premier League campaign and everything that goes into those domestic competitions. So I think they're maybe still recovering a little bit from that. They've also got they've had some weird stuff going on. Obviously, they're unfavorable as an organization for obvious reasons. Sandro Tonali, big signing, comes in and is suspended, and I think that's probably thrown some of the plans into flux. So I think again they're still recovering from all that turmoil last year. I expect them to do pretty well this year. I've heard a lot of people putting them in their top 4, and I just think that's a little aggressive. I think they're a good team, but I do think, unfortunately, because of the state of the modern game and all the money that they have, they'll be there consistently at some point in the future. It took City, a good 6, 7, 8 years to get there, but they're still working on their growth, albeit not our favorite way that it's happening. But yeah, I expect Spurs to be able to go and put up a fight against a team that's not as strong as we maybe want to make them out to be. But yeah, all remains to be seen.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it too has to do with us. It's our mentality too.
Yeah,
we saw us go into the King Power against a Leicester team that's not very good. They are getting a little bit better. They're making some decent signings, but they're not a very good team at the moment. They were less good when we were playing them, and we went in there and played down to their level.
Yeah.
So we saw on Saturday a home match against another team that is in the midst of their own turnover, in the midst of their own rebuild, and showed what we can do. So hopefully we take that and roll that into St. James Park. You mentioned their depth. That might be tested as early as Saturday against us because they have a game between now and then. Today, as you're hearing this, Newcastle is playing in the Carabao Cup match away to Nottingham Forest. So, they're going to have a game 3 days later against us, and we haven't played for a week. So that depth is going to come into question again for them right off the bat.
Yep. Yeah, it's interesting. We're the team with Europe, but European, albeit we're not playing, European football is still factoring into this match on Saturday because European football has kept us out of this round of the League Cup, right? Had we not been in Europe, we'd also be playing this week, but because we're in Europe, we're not, and we'll have fresher legs than Newcastle, which I think is a big check in the pro column for Spurs getting a result up at St. James Park. As we said, Solanke is the only potential injury news for Spurs that we're hearing, in and amongst the Ange Postecoglou press conferences. So we can expect, at least our strongest, strongest 18.
Yeah.
Is it? Yeah. Thank you. How many subs is there now? But yeah, we'll expect our strongest lineup that we can put out, with the asterisk that Solanke might not be available. I think that probably means Sonny over Richarlison if Solanke doesn't go, as we said, but it'll be a very strong lineup from Spurs. And no new injuries for Newcastle United as well. My understanding is that Jamal Lascelles, Sven Botman, and Colin Wilson are all potentially going to miss this match through injury. And as you let me know earlier, Dakota, it sounds like nothing has been added to that list. So they'll put out a fairly strong lineup as well. I would expect something along the lines of a Bruno Guimaraes, Joe Ellington, potentially a long-staff midfield. That's what we saw week 1 against Southampton for them. As we already talked about, Gordon at the left wing, Isak up top, and in the right wing, potentially Murphy, potentially Miggy Almiron. I think that remains to be seen. And we know Fabian Schär will be there. He's an astute defender. We expect Dan Burns, as you mentioned earlier, and then Tino Livramento at right back, who is a Liverpool product and seems to be quite a good little player with Nick Pope in goal. We can anticipate. So a strong lineup. There is talks amongst the media of them making a bid for Mark Gahey almost imminently, right? But we also hear that Crystal Palace are quoting 70 million as a starting ask from Newcastle, and maybe Newcastle cools off to it when the price comes out. But do you think there's any truth to that happening? And if it does, he would be potentially available at the weekend, but I wouldn't expect him to play.
Yeah, I feel like I've heard that rumor a lot this summer, and maybe it's just taking them a long time to get it done. I personally can't see Palace letting anybody else go willingly. They've already lost Elise. We saw, the way that their release clause with Berrieze was worded kept folks away from triggering that release clause, which has now expired for him. So I can't see that they would really let any of their key pieces go for anything less than what they feel they're worth. And Mark Gahey got into the England squad this summer, had a great tournament at the Euros. He's been on everybody's radar for the last couple of years. And from a Palace perspective, I wouldn't want any less than 70 million either, especially at this point in the window. So I think probably squads will go into the weekend as they are now, unless Johan Long decides to drop us another surprise gift. Seems like we almost got one today, but the player failed his medical, so not gonna see him rolling through the window. Yeah, it's a left-sided center back / left back from Villarreal. Failed his medical today, or at some point in the last 24 hours, 36 hours. So it seems like we are still active in the market, looking for opportunities, looking to strengthen our squad, which I was just looking at. It is pretty great. Everyone was really happy, really excited with the starting 11 that we put out against Everton last week, with a bench of Richarlison, Pape Matar Sarr, Archie Gray, Jed Spence, Lucas Bergvall, Fraser Forster, Ben Davis, Radu Jagerson, Timo Werner. And that's with Rodrigo Bentancur and Dominic Solanke being injured. So those two guys come back healthy. Who drops off of that bench? Who gets left out? We are finally getting to a point, I think, where we can look at not just the starting 11s, but we can look all the way down the team sheet and say, this is a pretty strong squad. And there's still some good pieces that are sitting in the stands with the fans watching the matches.
I'm just going to say there's a couple guys that, are going to get their minutes potentially with the U21s this year that I think are ready to go for the first team. And I don't see it terribly crazy to think that there's maybe a world where Mikey Moore is on the bench ahead of a Timo Werner at some point in the future. And I don't mean to pick on Timo. I'm a fan of him and think that he offers a lot, but I just want us all to remain conscious of the fact that Mikey Moore is available for first team minutes. And not that I see him starting, but cameos off the bench, I think, are in the near future for him. So that will be exciting and remains to be seen. And as you said, just continues to speak to the depth that Spurs have. And not only the depth that we have now, but the depth that we're building for the future with the way that we're handling our business in the transfer market. Feels like we have a really good plan, and it's been a while since we felt that way. I don't even think back to the days of when Paul Mitchell was wheeling and dealing, and you've heard me talk about Paul Mitchell for years now, and ad nauseum. I still think he was one of the greatest things to ever happen to the club in the Premier League era, and we burned a bridge, right? But even in the Paul Mitchell days, I didn't get this sense of just a cohesive plan in the market with everything that we're doing. It's not only good business, but it's good business that's centered or aligned to the type of football that we want to play under a long-term manager that we're looking to keep at the club. So again, all the pieces are working in harmony right now. And I just really haven't seen that since my time as a Spurs fan dating back to 2011. And it's exciting. So I think you're on mute.
We are daring and we are doing at this point.
Thank you.
So it's fun to see. So, but let's buckle up and keep it going, because this is just the beginning of hopefully a very long time of good things coming our way. Starting
No doubt.
Saturday at Newcastle with the lunchtime kickoff.
Yep. We know Champions League and Premier Leagues are in the future throughout the next decade, but one match at a time, right? And as you said, that is Newcastle United away Saturday at it's an early one, I believe, at 8 a.m. on the East Coast, 5 a.m. for the West Coast. And is this your first?
It's my first West Coast early match. So luckily, 5:30 is when I've been getting up anyway, because I like to try to have somewhat of a coherent thought before my children wake up. So this is going to be kind of right on cue with with where I've been, thankfully. So we'll see if they make it a little bit easier to get up in the morning this weekend.
There used to be a day where you would have heard Todd or I say something like, "Wait till you wake up at 4:30 to watch us draw at West Brom." I think those days are maybe over because of Big Papa Ange Postecoglou. So you may have escaped the real rough 4:30s. But yeah, we'll see, right? Yeah. It's an early one, so everybody make sure they got their coffee brewed and ready. If you're able, go check it out with the local OSC. If there's one close by, never a better way to spend an early morning game than a nice pot of coffee with some of your closest Spurs fans. So, but yeah, everybody enjoy. It's going to be an exciting one. Dakota, what do you predict as a score line, and who are the potential goal scorers, if there are any, for Spurs?
You know what? Firstly, I just realized we've been saying this game is on Saturday. It's actually on Sunday. It's on Sunday.
This game is on Sunday.
The game is on Sunday. So if you've been listening to us this whole entire time confused, we're wrong, not you. I'm gonna play this one conservative, and I'm gonna 2-2 draw. Let's call it that, 2-2 draw. I don't want that to be the case, but with our history of everything involved, I am a little bit superstitious. I believe in that stuff, the right amount, and so I'm going to respect it with my prediction, 2-2 draw. I think this is the week maybe James Maddison finally gets a goal. He's been poking around the last couple of weeks, and Heung-min Son's on fire right now. So let's let him carry this one over. James Maddison, Sonny double for our two goals.
I love it. I'm going 2-1 Spurs, and I honestly was going to go 1-1 Spurs. Sorry, 1-1 draw. 1-1 draw was what I was going to say. Until you reminded me the Sonny's on fire, because my gut was telling me a 1-1 draw with Pop Star getting on the score sheet, and I don't know why I felt that way. I was maybe just envisioning that goal at United last year. It's one of his first couple of matches, right, as a prominent player. But yeah, I was thinking a 1-1 draw with Pop Star getting on the score sheet, but I'm feeling like Sonny's going to put the team on his back, just like that guy in that Madden video with the broken leg.
Greg Jennings.
Greg Jennings.
Put the team on your back, though.
Some bonus content.
Cut. Yeah.
Some bonus content. But yeah, I think Sonny's going to put the team on his back like Greg Jennings and score, and Spurs win 2-1. So yeah, we'll see. Usually I pick with my heart instead of my head. So, it's always up in the air, but I'm going 2-1 Spurs.
Sounds good. I would take either of those results right now, I think. It would hurt me a little bit to take my 2-2 draw prediction because I don't want that. But with all of the things that we mentioned that are on our minds as fans, and the way the last couple attempts at St. James's Park have gone for us, 2-2, I would take it at the moment.
Deal. All right. Well, yeah. Anything else you want to cover before we wrap it up?
We started with some kit talk. We can end with some kit talk. I'll be wearing my third kit. I think when it gets here, I think it's a great idea to kind of take some elements of the retro badge and integrate it into some modern things. I know I know people don't like the collar. I know people don't like the vertical swoosh, so the vertical swoosh, there's a big one, there's a small one. It's part of Nike's togetherness campaign celebrating women's integration into soccer as well, celebrating the women's game also. So that's the reason for the double vertical swoosh. If anyone was curious,
I like that.
It's great. So I think it's cool. I love a green kit. Hopefully, it's as good as our last green kit in terms of memories that it brings us.
Yeah, honestly, this morning when it came out, I wasn't a huge fan, and throughout the day, it warmed up on me. I think Archie Gray looked real clean in it. But I love the badge. I love the Seven Sisters and the trees. I'll definitely be purchasing the kit. So it's unique, and I really like that in the current day and age. So yeah, well, Spurs will probably wear it twice, but it's a cool kit to look at, and I think those kits that we wear, just a few times as a club. In a way, I think those are more for the fans, anyways, right? Give us something special to rock on a match day or whatever it is, and not that that's a club intention, but that's the way I want to view those things, right? Is that kit's for us. So I hope everybody enjoys it. Hope everybody enjoyed the show today. As I said earlier, I'm not the standard host. Andrew is, of course, and I'll never be the host that Andrew is, but I'll always be here when required. And Dakota, always good to have you on, man. As I said earlier, Mac Dak to me, one of my closest friends. Always good to chat Spurs with you, my friend. But yeah, for myself, for Dakota, at Dakota J Booth, you can find me at Scott G Bird. You can find us at Tottenham Depot on all socials. Like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We would really appreciate any continued efforts towards helping us grow our on-screen presence, right? We want to make sure that we're giving people a chance to get a peek behind the sound and see who we are as a group. Thanks to Andrew for all you do from a host perspective, all the work you put in, and for the whole Tottenham Depot crew. We appreciate the time, and come on, you Spurs.
Choo choo.
Choo choo.